Cyberpunk 2077 is now out, I've played about 10 hours of it, and I figured I'd just kind of give my first impressions to you all, as I've seen a lot of different stuff being talked about already. Despite the fact I'm actually avoiding any news on it to avoid spoilers, I'm still seeing a whole range of topics being spoken about, so I figure it's worth giving my own personal experience, so that you've got a bit more to go off of if you're currently considering buying the game, or just want an idea of what the game is like. First off, I think the main thing I should do is just give my overall impression of the game, which is, I like it. I think it's good, worth the price of admission for me at least. That's the most base level opinion I can give. There are quite a few problems with it, however, and I think it's probably worth me talking about those towards the start, to see because if there's something in particular where you're like, oh no, it's got this one problem, therefore I will never buy it, probably worth me mentioning it sooner rather than later. As a new release of an open world game, it is buggy. It's got bugs in it that you have to deal with. That shouldn't be too surprising, but I feel like there's some people who are like, oh my god, I can't believe an open world game has bugs in it, wow. There are bugs. So far, I've only encountered a couple of bad ones. Most of mine have been very amusing. Unfortunately, the vast majority I can't show you, as I'm going to be avoiding spoilers within this entire video. All of the gameplay will be early or inconsequential side stuff so that nothing really gets ruined for you. But a lot of key plot points and a fair few emotional moments as well. I've had characters clipping stuff through their face while they've been talking to me, which has been kind of amusing. I've laughed about it. The one bug I can show you a little bit of is when I got into a car standing upright, so I'm just standing through the roof of the car, which is great. That's an entertaining one. So far, I've only had one quest which is messed up from a bug or a glitch, which is where I'm supposed to be picking up a free item from a vendor, and they just don't have the free item. And the quest doesn't update until you pick up the free item. And I don't know how to fix that. So that is the one bug I've had which has stopped progression. It's not on a main mission, it's on a side mission, but it was just yep, pick up this free item from this Ripper dock over in this place, and I go there, and they do not have the item. And that's just it. And there's no way for me around it. I spent about half an hour loading, reloading, and running around doing other stuff and coming back to it, and it just doesn't work, unfortunately. So there's a quest I cannot finish because of a bug. However, none of the main stuff has gone too badly wrong for me, and in general, I'm playing the game and not having any major issues with bugs that are ruining it for me. One thing that did bug out actually, which I should mention, is the photo mode, because I want to talk about the photo mode more in general, but the thumbnail for this video comes from the photo mode bugging out. I'll show you the picture I was trying to take, because I took two pictures, one after the other. The first one kept all the HUD elements up, despite me having closed them, and the second one is what you'll be seeing afterwards, which is where I got the thumbnail for this video from, because I was like, okay, I can work with that. Originally I was just trying to get a picture of my character so I could cut them out and then put them onto a background, but I've ended up going for something a bit different because the photo mode bugged out on me. And I do want to talk about the photo mode because I don't think it's very good. It's a bit clunky, it's got a handful of filters, it doesn't let you go very far from your character or angle things very well. I was trying to get a nice shot of Night City as a whole, and I just couldn't. It just wouldn't let me. Overall, I'm glad it does have a photo mode. I'll take a kind of rough and not great photo mode over none at all, but it's not particularly good. A lot of games are coming out with photo modes now, and a lot of the games I play have photo modes, and they're just better than the one in Cyberpunk. Something else that a lot of other games do better is driving. Now, I am playing on PC with mouse and keyboard, so I never expect driving to be great, but I've been playing other games recently, like some of the old Far Cry games, which have acceptable driving in them. It's not great, it's mouse and keyboard, it's never going to be great, but it's fine, I can get on with it, it's okay. Currently in Cyberpunk, I have reached a point where I'm being offered several different cars to buy. I have bought none of them, and I'm travelling everywhere on foot because the driving just really is that bad, but I'd rather be running everywhere. Cars are very sensitive to the controls, whilst also being a bit slow to accelerate, I find. So you're generally, if you want to get somewhere quickly, you're going way too fast for about 60% of a journey, and way too slow for about 10 to 20% of it, with the acceleration and deceleration being a bit odd. They also turn just like crazy. Like you'll try and turn just round a corner, and your car will just lose complete control, or it will just turn on a dot, or it will just fail to turn. It just doesn't work too well. The driving just doesn't respond that well, and it's a shame considering that the game is quite big, and you'll probably want a car or a bike to get around on. So the driving so far doesn't feel particularly good, which is a shame, because like I say, there's other games I've played which have done a better job at that. Now there's only two more kind of bad things I want to talk about. The first being story related but not spoiler related, which is I often felt like my choices didn't matter so far. Like, I did a bunch of stuff in the story where I was like, okay, I feel like this will go this way, and then the game just kind of did everything the way it wanted to, and it made me feel like all of my skill checks, all of the activities I'd done, none of it really felt like it mattered, because the story was very much just like, yes, this is going to happen, you cannot change it, you cannot make any real impact on it. And it was a shame. Like, the game does give you choices, like, in speech and in dialogue all the time, but I feel like 99% of them do not matter. Hopefully, as I get further in the game, that'll change more. I will say it took me 7 hours before I saw the title card for the game, so it's a huge game. It's absolutely huge, and hopefully, now that I've got past kind of the first section, it will open up even more in terms of choice and consequence. And the final negative thing to talk about, and then we'll move on to the positive stuff, is optimization. So like I say, I'm playing on PC. I've got a good PC rig. It's not top of the line, but it's like part of my job, so I've spent a lot of money on it. Like, it is a very good PC rig. It ran everything previously to this game on Ultra pretty much all the time. I think Borderlands 3 I maybe had on medium, just because that game was a bit weird with optimization, which it seems Cyberpunk is as well. If you're on last-gen consoles, or are they still being called current-gen? If you're basically on the PS4 and Xbox, whatever they call it, then apparently things are really bad on there, and it doesn't run well. I don't have first-hand experience of that, but I've heard that as the general consensus online, which sucks. Apparently, even the modern consoles aren't doing great. My PC does decent. I actually want to show you like a side-by-side comparison, because originally I just booted up the game and kept everything kind of as it was, and just saw how it went. I did end up like getting rid of film grain and various other weird settings it likes to put on. Like, there was horrible motion blur at first. Like, in the first hour of playing this, I was getting a headache from motion blur and like glitchy graphics, which were all intentional design choices, which I was just like, no, this is terrible. And originally I thought I was going to be very negative to the game non-stop, which I'm sure plenty of you think I'm being right now, but I'm just listing all the negatives in one. So there's definitely a lot of settings you can change to get rid of the stuff that you might not like. For me personally, the big side-by-side comparison thing was when I got into a gunfight, when originally playing the game, the first kind of gunfight you get into in the game, the frame rate dropped like crazy, and went all choppy, and you'll see that in the video footage. And then what I went into was, I have an NVIDIA graphics card, so I went into the GeForce Experience panel, and I literally, there's a button on there which you click, and it says optimize. I clicked that, I loaded back up into the game, everything was a million times better, and it's been great since. If you're on PC, then getting the settings right will be a huge part of how well this game performs for you, I feel. Like, if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, make sure you've got the GeForce Experience thing. It's where you download like the latest graphics drivers. Go on the game on that, click on optimize, fingers crossed, like with me, it will just make it run perfectly for you. And the game looks great. I think I've got things on like a mix of medium and high, but it still looks really good. Like if I'm considering getting a better CPU at some point, because I think that's the thing that's mostly holding me back, But yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff on medium high, a couple of things on ultra, like, it's just sorted itself out, and it looks really quite good. So I'm perfectly happy with it not being just ultra for everything, because it still looks good. Now, it looking good, I suppose, is the first of the positives. It's a very pretty game, and it's got a really cool art style to it. I love it. It's also, Night City itself is huge and fun to explore. Some stuff which I like, but I know other people probably aren't getting into too much, is that it's very complicated as well as being big. Like, you have several different attributes, your body, your intelligence, all of these things, and then there's multiple skill trees within them, which I've already seen people getting kind of overwhelmed by. There's also hacking in the game, where you do quick hacks from scans, and combat has like a whole bunch of status effects and other things which you start bumping into as you progress throughout the game. There's just a lot. I'm not going to go over it all, but it's a somewhat complicated game, and I'm seeing a fair few people struggle with it if they're not like super down to just spend several hours learning these things. Like, I made sure to go through the entire tutorial, which is actually another thing I think was quite bad, because it had a horrible glitchy effect over it all. But yeah, I went through the entire tutorial, really took my time to learn these things, and now I'm having fun with it. I like the complicated elements. I'm finding myself saving up perk points, so that if I get to specific checks, or attribute checks, I can potentially up my attributes, or if there's something perk-wise I want, then I can go for it. I literally just unlocked throwing knives as a perk, and I was like, wow, I've got to try that out, which I'll be doing after recording this. There's a ton of cool stuff. I don't know if there's a level cap so far, which is something which kind of worries me, I guess, because each attribute is out of 20, 3 is the minimum, goes up to 20, but if you can only hit, like, level 50, then you're not going to get everything up to 20. You're going to have to make some decisions. Now, I'm fine with that, but I want to know. If there is a level cap, I want to know so I can make sure I don't waste too many points putting it into, like, body if I want to be a sniper, and I don't need to worry too much about that. I want to focus on the ones I do want to focus on. But if there's no limit, then yeah, I'll just want to max everything out and have a god character, because why not? Now, the start of the game is somewhat restrictive. It takes a good couple of hours, I'd say, before you really get into the open world, but when you do, the world does open up in a very natural way. You can pretty much go wherever you want in Night City for the most part. You can really just travel around and do as you please a lot of the time, and you'll run into random encounters. Actually, the first encounter that jumped to mind is a memorable one I cannot mention on YouTube. But yeah, there's plenty of nice encounters. Just wandering about the city and finding stuff to do is fun. The street cred system is also really cool. Basically, the more missions you do for people, and the more bounties you hunt. So basically, you can scan people in this game, and it will tell you, like, rewards you'll get in terms of eddies, which are Euro dollars, which is the currency, and street cred, which is your reputation. And you, like, murder people, and people are like, yeah, you're cool, because there's video games. And the more street cred you get, the more activities that start opening up, the more items you can purchase and vendors. A lot of items are, like, locked behind level requirements and street cred, so you'll need to, like, be quite well known before you can buy the really good stuff. And I like that. It means that you can't just be like, cool, I'm in the open world, I'm gonna jump to, like, the endpoint stuff straight away, because you do have to kind of earn your way up, but the game also doesn't, like, lock you into a very small area, which I don't like it when open world games do that. I want to have the freedom to just really go around and do all the side stuff. Which I did. It took me 7 hours to get to the title screen, because I did a bunch of side missions and explored the world. It's cool. It's cool. I'm really getting into the game. Despite me having a bunch of criticism about it, overall, it's a very good game, I feel. It does have its issues, and they're worth keeping in mind if you're considering buying it. Probably worth holding off for a little while if you're concerned about any of the bugs or the technical issues, to see what CD Projekt Red does to kind of fix those things. But in terms of enjoyment, I'm having a lot of fun. It's not the greatest shooter, it's probably not the greatest open world. I don't think it's the best at anything, but I really like the actual world of Cyberpunk it's set in. I'm having fun with it, and it's just nice to have a big video game to get into. because it's so big, I'm also probably not going to be making much more content on it until like next year, because it's going to take me ages to get through it, but it's nice to have this huge game to sink myself into, and it's great. It's great. I think I'm just going to leave it like that. I really am enjoying it. It's got its problems, but I do think it's a truly very good game, and if some of the optimization stuff can get sorted for people, and if some of the bugs can be squashed, the bigger ones which cause actual problems, then I think it's going to be a really solid game into the future. If that stuff doesn't get fixed though, I can see this being like, oh, can you remember how many idiots were excited for Cyberpunk? I imagine people will be like that. But for now, it's still got some work to go, which sucks to say when a game's released. But if you can play it, and if it's going to work well for you, then I think it's a great game and a fun experience to have. Yeah, that's going to be it. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to go back to playing it myself. And subscribe if you want more Cyberpunk content, because I do want to make more of it. As always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.